It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Jenn Cohen as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Hello and welcome to Countywide. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Jenn Cohen. Today we're talking with Sedona Fire's Brent Johnson. He is an awesome person. You're going to love him. Swiftwater technician, firefighter, paramedic, here to talk about swiftwater rescues, all that stuff. We have a bit of a weather event happening right now. We're expecting inches upon inches of rain to come down over the next couple of days into the weekend, possibly melting all the snow that's up in the mountains and creating flood issues. So absolutely perfect timing, Brent. Thank you so much for being here. Check out sedonafire.org if you want to go to the website. Information there on swiftwater rescues and all the other stuff that Sedona Fire does. It's really awesome. sedonafire.org. All right. You might be busy the next couple of days. I'd hope that you wouldn't be, Brent, but you never know.
Well, we never know.
We never know. But you're always prepared.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jenn.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming in. I'm really pleased that the timing worked out. You know, the Weather Service is telling us some precipitation is going to come down. We've got a warm storm coming through. That warm storm could lead to snow melt up on the mountains and could lead to flooding in Oak Creek, all our different creeks, Beaver Creek, all the dry washes that are normally dry. Dry Creek is not going to be dry.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's times like these that we really like the opportunity to come in and talk about this, get the information out to the public so we can ensure their safety. Even if just a little bit more, getting information to them is really, really important to us. So thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, sure. Now tell us a little about you. When did you get into the fire service?
I started back in 2001 down in the Phoenix area, but I started with Sedona in 2005. So I've been with them a little while. I started right away getting into the technical rescue team, which is what really brought me to Sedona Fire. I'm just an outdoor enthusiast, and I've always been a climber. So the idea of getting a career where I can bring those two loves together, being a firefighter and doing technical rescue, is a great thing.
Oh yeah.
And Sedona does that. We in fact, just last year, we had about 137 technical rescue calls.
Wow.
Just in 2018. So it's a very, very big area for technical rescue. I'm one of 3 instructors on the team. We have 19 people in Sedona Fire that are technician level technical rescue experts. And we take these people together, spread them across all of our shifts to make sure we have someone always available to respond to an emergency. And this time of year, we're gonna put them to work.
Oh my gosh.
It never fails that when we get a lot of snow up north, we get a lot of rain, that rain melts that snow, and it's almost like having 2 to 3 times the normal rain, all at once. And a little bit about it, so just so our public understands how that works, because we already mentioned there's a rain on snow event possibly coming tomorrow. And if you can imagine just a large storage of water in the form of ice, so it's not moving anywhere. Suddenly water hits it, warms it, melts it, and then all that rain, all that snow, all at once liquefies and starts moving from, say, Flagstaff down through tributary canyons into Oak Creek. That's where I work. And when events like that happen, about 8 hours after a heavy rain, all that water that's slowly been melting up north makes its way down these little crack canyons and starts feeding into Oak Creek, and we have a flood stage. And unfortunately, that usually happens at night, which is the greatest time. It's the greatest time to get in a flooded river, right? So it just seems to be when it works out, because in the daytime, that's when it's warm, everything melts, and then 8 hours later, the sun goes down and we go to work. So another problem with that is you cross, say, to go to your house, a low water crossing, which is, a concrete bridge with conduits underneath it, and water flows under and sometimes over, and you go across it. It's not a big deal. At night, it's hard to judge how deep that water is. And people come up, their headlights hit a bunch of water, and they go, it looks like it's just a couple inches deep. Not so much, Then they're entering into a flooded waterway. They get surprised, and it doesn't take much. I mean, it really, really doesn't take much to wash a car away into the river. Mm-hmm. People can't judge the depth of water or the speed in which it's moving because it's nighttime. Their headlights aren't doing a good job of showing it. They make a poor choice and you get the call.
That's for sure. Now, how much is not much? How many inches does it take to move? I know people say, my truck's heavy, my car's heavy. I drive an enormous, huge, heavy truck, but I watch her go through a puddle and she goes, woo! So
it doesn't take much.
A couple inches.
I mean, even and people might have experienced this if they go to a river and it's moving pretty quickly and they try to cross it. Mm-hmm. You're not very steady on your feet. Mm-hmm. Well, the car's no different. I mean, it's getting hit from the side. All the surface space of the car is going to act like a sail to air, but it's water hitting it. All that force of that water is just pushing that car. And just a few inches, if it's moving fast enough, could take a person right off their feet and wash them downstream. You know, somebody goes into a wash, it's only a foot deep. If there's enough water moving fast enough, that could be enough to edge you right off of a road. And, well, we all know how that ends.
Yeah.
We show up.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
I know. 2 weeks ago, Oak Creek rose over 9 feet above the level that it was at.
Yeah.
And we had several things going on. We had, there was a rescue by Copper Canyon. There was a fella clinging to a tree in Beaver Creek. He drove in, got washed down, got separated from his vehicle, which is, whoa, the worst case scenario, and was calling for help, and someone heard him clinging to a tree. I mean, these are the kind of things that happen when you drive into a wash. Now, how does it work for you guys? You can prepare for these things, and you can go out and you can put up barricades, and ADOT can put out cones and stuff, but people will still drive around them. Yeah.
Well, there's people that need to get across those low water crossings in order to get to their houses. Sometimes there's drive arounds. They can go, you know, maybe a mile or two extra and get home. Sometimes not. So if you're one of these people that are living in these areas that you can't get out unless you go across the river, you need to think about that and plan ahead. Maybe have some supplies. You don't need to run to the store. Get some water, get some food. Hunker down in case that river spikes. Right. You know, it's better than rolling the dice and trying to make a crossing in an event like that. And especially if you look at it and say, I can't cross that, don't put yourself in a position where now you're in an emergency because you can't get out, even though you knew the flooding was coming. You know, It might be worth it just to know, hey, it's going to be bad today, so today I'm not going anywhere, or I'm going to stay away or go somewhere else. It's unfortunately, if that's your access issues for your house or your business, you just plan around it.
It's just part of life.
Nature's not very flexible.
That is true. That is true. And it just doesn't, extend to cars. We're talking about people.
Oh, sure.
We hear every year about hikers, say West Fork. Hikers getting stuck somewhere in West Fork or washed down or getting trapped on something because the water rose. You hear about things like that. So we're not talking about just driving across low water crossings. It can happen to anyone, anytime. It just so happens to happen mostly at night, but it can happen anytime and surprise people wherever they're at. It's something that we need to be conscious of here. Just because it's sunny and beautiful here, if it's pouring in Flagstaff or pouring in Williams, it's going to come down and affect us. So,
and that's the way it works, especially here in the desert. We have very impermeable soil. Flash floods are pretty normal. And, years ago, Tlaquepaque flooded from a tributary that didn't get flooded very often. And it just happened that way far away, there was a thunderstorm, dumped a lot of rain in this one area that dumped into a certain canyon that hadn't flooded in a long time. Next thing you know, it's pushing cars across a parking lot.
Oh, dear.
So it can come right out, literally out of the blue.
That is true. Now, we've got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. We're talking with Sedona Fire District's Brent Johnson. He's a swiftwater technician, a firefighter, a paramedic. Go to sedonafire.org for more information. We'll be right back.
Do you feel like people are avoiding you? Don't be a dreaded spreader. Protect yourself and those around you from flu. Here's 3 things you should do. Get a flu vaccine each year. Take everyday preventive actions to stop the spread of germs, like covering coughs and sneezes and washing your hands, and stay home if you're sick. If you do get the flu, contact a healthcare professional right away and take flu antivirals if prescribed. Don't be a dreaded spreader. Take 3 steps to fight flu.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay It's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter, your religion or, what part of the world you're from, that just sort of all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
Yo siento que soy parte de esa bendición que ese niño recibió al irse a su casa ya sanado.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Mandalay Homes introduces the new Ion Series, a revolutionary new approach to home building innovation and energy management. Built on a foundation of industry-leading energy efficiency and sustainable building practices, the Ion Series home redefines how we use and manage renewable energy. Contact a Mandalay Home sales executive today to learn more, or visit one of our Ion Series communities throughout northern Arizona.
Districts. Brent Johnson, who is a swiftwater technician, firefighter, and paramedic. We're talking about swiftwater events. Got possibly a little flooding coming up, and of course this time of year it's going to happen anyway. Rain on top of snow, we get flooding. Hazardous situations happen like that in the blink of an eye. So from your perspective, Brent, I'm really curious, what is it like to do a swiftwater rescue? What are we talking about?
Well, we have the tools and the training to work in that environment. The dangers are many, because unlike most trainings, we control the scene. Swiftwater is one of those rare events where we don't. It's not like we can twist a tap and turn off the flow and everybody let's get out of the water and try that again. No, everything we do in the water is real, and we even go out of state to get big water. We'll go to areas like the Kern River just to get the flows that are similar to flood stages here. So we're familiar with the kinds of dangerous features you'll see in a flooded body of water. And some of those things, they just can't be reproduced from the real thing. When a waterway floods, you have to think it's used to a certain volume of water at a certain speed. So when that changes and you get a ton of water and fast moving, all that sediment in the bottom is stirred up, sand, mud. The water raises and hits a lot of the bank that it doesn't normally hit, and what's there? We're a heavily traveled area. We've got a lot of people that come. They leave trash there. They leave, debris. There's sticks from the last time it flooded that have fallen since then, and were pushed there last time that maybe get freed up. And now you've got logs and branches and dirt and trash and everything you can imagine in the water with you. So sand is impregnating your clothing. The water is freezing because it used to be snow a few hours ago. It's a terrible thing. It's not like you're jumping in a river and just swimming. People think I'm a great swimmer. Try swimming in a sandstorm with logs hitting you. I went to one rescue. Dry Beaver Creek was flooded, and I saw a tree about 3 feet across in diameter, the trunk of it, just bobbing down the middle of our scene. These things just get freed up from the side of the riverbank, and now it's in the water with you. So it's not an easy thing to describe what that's like to be in. It's like swimming in a storm. Wow. So when you're in that situation, it's really important to get up out of it as quick as possible. You're going to be cold. And quickly, very quickly, you can become hypothermic, lose the use of your hands. You can't grab onto anything. You're talking about a gentleman who was clinging to a tree. That doesn't last long. So you really want to get up out of the water. You want to stay away from objects that can pin you to them. The force of the water pushing you against a log can quickly submerge you and drown you. So, we urge people, don't try to jump off and save yourself. If you can communicate with somebody and send rescuers, stay put, and we'll get there as quick as we can and try and save you. But swimming through that kind of water, it can be a really poor choice with a bad outcome.
There you go.
Very quickly.
So if you manage to stay with your car, if it's an automobile event, or if you're hugging a tree, keep hugging that tree for as long as you can, but stay out of the water.
Yeah. Have your cell phones with you. Hopefully they work. Hopefully they're not wet and don't work. You got a high-dollar phone case and it's dry.
There you go.
And just try to get rescuers there as quick as possible. Give us the best information you can. But you know, I'm not going to tell people not to try and rescue themselves if they think they can get out easily, and it's not that big a deal to them. It's just that's the problem. They don't understand what a big deal is. When they get in that water and they think, I used to swim professionally, or in high school I was competitive. No, not the same environment. It's cold, it's dangerous in ways you can't imagine.
Right.
So try to stay put and get some rescuers to you, and listen to us when we get there, and just try and stay calm and warm.
Certainly. I like that analogy. Swimming through a storm, and the water used to be snow a few hours ago.
Yeah.
So it's cold and dangerous. Now, do you guys wear dry suits when you get in?
We do. We have wet suits, we have dry suits, depending on the weather conditions, because of course in monsoon times, you know, it's pretty warm out, right? So we might not be wearing dry suits then. But in the winter, yeah, we usually just wear dry suits.
Wow.
It gets extremely cold, and
I bet.
Yeah, it's hard to operate in
I'm
if
cold
you're not
now, just thinking about it.
properly attired.
There's a lot of risk factors for you guys doing this job.
Sure. I mean, it's a risky job. You know, that's why we train.
Yeah.
We try to prepare ourselves for gaining the knowledge what it's like to operate in that kind of environment.
Right.
Like I said, we go out of state to find big water just for that reason. The best training I ever had was the first time I went to the Kern River and simply swam from one side to the next, having never been, I mean, I'm an Arizona native, right? I was raised in Phoenix. I used to go and look at the Salt River when it was flooded, because that was like, wow, look at all the water. You know, we just don't see water in this state.
Right.
Well, when I went to the Kern, I learned what that was. And that kind of knowledge is, it's so important to have. Because for people in the state, especially natives, it's not something we experience a lot. In fact, in our industry, we identify risk and risk factors when we operate in our job. And one of the ways we calculate risk is we look at frequency. So if there's a risky thing, but it's infrequently occurring, the risk is rated even higher.
Sure.
Because our exposure to it and our learned behaviors of that risk are few. So swift water definitely applies. I mean, not only do we not have a lot of experience with water in this state, moving water, that is, we just don't have that many waterways in highly populated areas. Our general population isn't necessarily well versed in how to operate in fast-moving water. I know certainly that was true of me growing up. It was a spectacle to me as a kid, seeing flooded water. So when we see it here, we assume that the public is out of their element. And we certainly don't see it enough on a day-to-day basis to be you know, familiar with that risk as well. So it's a super high-risk situation. This is certainly one of the most dangerous things we do at our department. Yeah.
Right. So the key is prevention. Don't drive into a flooded waterway. Don't drive across a flooded bridge or water crossing. If there's barricades up or cones up or ADA, just use common sense and don't do it. Just wait it out. It doesn't usually last long. It just goes and then it's gone most of the time. So, you know, and sometimes it doesn't. So wait it out. Be prepared. They say turn around, don't drown. When we come back from our short break, we're going to mention the stupid motorist law. That's an actual thing. I think that's awesome. But we're going to take another quick break. Check out SedonaFire.org. Lots of great information there for you. Of course, anytime you want to speak to someone, such as Brent, or you want to speak to your fire marshal or your captains or whoever, give them a call. They're very happy to talk to you. But if you go to SedonaFire.org, you'll check it out. We're talking with Brent Johnson. He's a swiftwater technician. We'll be right back because we've got a little bit more countywide, so don't go away.
What does it look like when a life is truly changed?
I feel a sense of accomplishment because I built a house. This house has brought us financial independence.
It's a great place to raise a family.
Strength, fuerza. When I look back where we've come from to where we are today, it makes my heart very happy.
Potential. Potencia.
For me, this house means all of us together.
Sorry.
Security.
Security.
Every family dreams to have their own house. This house changed our lives.
Habitat for Humanity is at work in your community and around the world. Through shelter, we empower.
We develop quality citizens who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
And welcome back to Countywide. I'm Jenn Cohen. Just a few more seconds of Countywide. We're talking with Brent Johnson from Sedona Fire. We're talking about swiftwater rescues. Of course, prevention is the best thing. To prevent the need for rescue, don't be stupid. And if you're stupid, there's a stupid motorist law. It's actually called the stupid motorist law. Brent, that's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a name that the state came up with, and you know, it's a little harsh, maybe,
but it's honest.
Harsh in name.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is if it's a marked waterway, water crossing, and it's flooded, usually you'll see signs that say, you know, stay out when flooded, or, you know, don't cross when flooded. They mean it. They mean that. And the reason those waterways get signs is because it's a common issue. And those are identified hazard areas where, you know, you're likely going to have a problem if you try to cross it when it's flooded. Either because it's hard to tell with the speed and depth of water, or the frequency of which people pass that area. If you do have to call for a rescue and you cross in that area, you are going to get fined. That's the law. So, you know, we don't, as an agency, fine you. We're just there to do the rescue. We have the convenient position of being the good guys.
Right.
We're just there to do the rescue. But people should be aware there are some legal problems with them if they decide to ignore the signs and go ahead and cross. They could find themselves on the business side of Johnny Law pretty quick.
Well, sure, and those rescues are expensive. So stupid motorist law applies to if you drive through something that's got cones that says do not cross when flooded, do not enter when flooded. If you go in there and need a rescue, the law will apply to you and you could get fined. So there's another reason to stay out.
That's right.
And of course, you just have some patience, relax. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to need to be rescued. But if they do need a rescue, you have an extra tool now. You have a helicopter that you can use for these things now.
That's right. In the last couple of years, we've started doing swiftwater rescues in cooperation with DPS. We already work with them and their helicopters to do short haul, which is where we take people off the side of cliffs with ropes. And you may have seen us, if you lived in Sedona and looked up one day, you might have seen one of us swinging around on a line underneath the helicopter. Well, now we can go ahead and pull you off the roof of a car or a boulder if the weather allows.
Of course.
Yeah, and they've even got a helicopter with a winch that can do a lot more at night. And so it's exciting. We're getting more and more tools in our tool basket to solve these problems. But yeah, we're here for you if you need us. But the best thing would be not to need us, and that's just making smart decisions and knowing, you know, hey, it's not worth the risk if it's at all a marginal conversation you're having in your head. Like, I don't know. You know. If you're saying, I don't know, you know the answer. The answer is don't try it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, you guys do an amazing job at
thank
Sedona Fire. You're very busy with your hundreds of rescues every year. Keep up the great work. I just love it. Of course, don't be shy. If you need them, give them a call. That's all the time we have for Countywide. Check out sedonafire.org. I highly recommend it. Reach out to your local firefighters and your rescuers, and they're all really nice guys. They'll talk to you about prevention. Of course, if you want to talk about fire or water, anything that you need, your local fire district is going to be more than happy to talk to you. That's all the time we've got, so we'll see you again next time.